Hey, General Hospital fans. Here is your early weekly spoilers for June 8th through the 12th, and we have got an absolutely stacked week ahead for you. We're talking Jack Brennan running out of time at Turning Woods as Cullum closes in, and trust me, that situation is getting more desperate by the hour. Plus, the news you have all been waiting for. Steve Burton is officially back as Jason Morgan, and we have got his return air date pinned down for you. On top of all of that, we have got major casting updates to get through, a brand new face joining the canvas, a returning fan favorite, and the reveal of which character was literally written to die, but got a last-minute reprieve from the writers. And yes, before you ask, we did leak that one for you a couple of weeks back. I'm your host, and this is Soap Dirt. Before we get into everything coming the week of June 8th through the 12th, please hit that subscribe button right now if you have not done it already, because we drop these early editions regularly and you absolutely cannot afford to miss them. And as we always do on early edition day, we are going to walk through what is happening the rest of this week first, and then we are going to get into all the good stuff coming next week. So let's get into it. On Wednesday, June 3rd, Lucas is in his head about whether he said too much. He is second-guessing himself, and that anxiety is very much warranted given everything that has been happening around him lately. Now, if you've been following the Pascal and Marco situation, you know that Lucas has been doing some strategic maneuvering, and part of that involved feeding information to the PCPD in a way that was designed to get law enforcement moving toward Windermere and rattling the right cages. And it worked because we saw Joe Fitzpatrick show up there, which was exactly the intended result. But now Lucas is worried that in the process of setting that in motion, he may have revealed more than he meant to, and that is a very uncomfortable place to be when the people you are dealing with are as dangerous as Sidwell and Cullum. What we're going to see on Wednesday is Sunny, Lucas, and Laura all checking in with each other, and the conversation is tense and loaded. Lucas makes a comment about how these people shoot first and ask questions later, which is obviously a reference to how Sidwell and Cullum operate, and it is not an exaggeration. Sunny, being Sunny, comes in with an offer of help, and he tells Laura and presumably Lucas as well that if they can hand him a suspect, he will absolutely bite. Now I think they're talking about Sidwell specifically in the context of Marco's murder, but there is an argument to be made that this is also about the PCPD angle. Either way, these three are coordinating, and there is something really satisfying about watching this particular trio work together because they each bring something completely different to the table. Over at Turning Woods, things are getting deeply uncomfortable for Jack Brennan. Carly and Valentine have crept into his room, and Jack is making it very clear that he needs their help, and he needs it now. But Valentine is not exactly rushing to be charitable about it. He tells Jack plainly that his and Carly's help is going to come at a price. And honestly, what else would you expect from Valentine? The man does not do anything for free, and he has his own very pressing concerns with the WSB situation that he would love nothing more than to offload onto someone with the right connections. So, I think the price is going to involve Jack using whatever leverage he still has to get the WSB off Valentine's back. That would be the logical trade. Now, someone on the team made the joke about just pulling Jack out of Turning Woods and sticking him up in the attic with Valentine, and honestly, I think about that, and it genuinely makes me laugh because the energy between those two in any confined space would be absolutely chaotic. It is not going to happen, but it is fun to think about. Also on Wednesday, Willow is making Chase an offer, and the way it is being framed sounds like she is asking him about a position that would be more suited to his specific skill set. Now, my first instinct is that Willow is going to bring Chase on as personal security, which would be interesting for a number of reasons, not least of which is that it would keep him right in her orbit in a way that Brooklyn is absolutely not going to be comfortable with. And speaking of Brooklyn, she walks in on something that stops her cold. She says to someone, and this is likely Michael or Christina, "Forgive him for what?" Which tells you right away that she caught a moment between Chase and Willow that looked like more than it was, or maybe exactly as much as it was, depending on how you read it. She probably walked up while they were out by the boathouse together, and whatever she witnessed was enough to send her straight to someone she trusts to try and process what she just saw. Tracy, meanwhile, is appalled by what she witnesses, and Tracy being appalled is always an event because the woman has absolutely no filter when she is disgusted by something. She apparently sees Willow getting a little too close with Chase near the boathouse as well. So we have got both Tracy and Brooklyn reacting to the same general situation from slightly different angles, and neither of those reactions is going to be subtle. Tracy's snarky commentary alone is going to be worth the price of admission on Wednesday. And then Michael is asking Christina what exactly she needs from him, which I think might be connected to her plans around Charlie's pub before she leaves for medical school. I wonder if she is going to ask Michael to see if Christina would be willing to take over running the place after she goes, or at least to help find a solution so that Charlie's does not just get left in limbo. Thursday, June 4th, somebody makes Cassius an offer that is very hard to refuse. Now this is where it gets really interesting because the prevailing theory is that this is Cullum reaching out to Cassius to complete his father's final project, given that Britt is currently MIA and there is a gap that needs filling. If you remember, Cullum was talking to Sidwell about having someone else in mind for this, and Cassius makes a lot of sense as that person. There is also this very deliberate detail that has been dropped about Cassius telling Lulu that his father used to make him memorize the periodic table. That is not a throwaway character quirk. That is the show telling you something about who this guy actually is beneath the surface. He has been playing the role of henchman, but there is clearly more going on intellectually and scientifically, and I think Thursday is where we start to peel that back. He might not be purely muscle. He might be exactly the kind of person Cullum needs for whatever this project involves. Also on Thursday, somebody warns Ethan, and I think this connects to the photograph situation with him and Delilah. That photo has been sitting there like a ticking clock, and I suspect someone who has seen it or knows about it is trying to give Ethan a heads up before it lands somewhere it cannot be recalled from. Nina is going to try to get Willow to listen to reason on Thursday as well, and honestly Nina's definition of reason is pretty flexible, so take that as you will. It might be about Chase, it might be about the Jack situation, it might be about the whole Drew mess that is still very much unresolved. Honestly, there is no shortage of things Nina could be trying to talk Willow down from at any given moment on this show. And Jocelyn is not sitting around waiting to be rescued. She's been working on escaping captivity for a while now, and Thursday is when she finally gets a real breakthrough. She has been messing with a light fixture and working on the door, and it sounds like she actually manages to get the door open, which is huge. Jocelyn is shocked when it works, which I love, because it tells you she was not entirely sure it would. She improvised, she problem-solved, and it paid off. Now, whether she actually gets out and gets to safety before someone notices is a whole other question, and I would not hold your breath just yet. But the fact that she got the door open at all is a genuine win, and it is going to change the dynamic of that storyline considerably going forward. Carly, meanwhile, is certain that someone took Jocelyn, and she is not backing down from that position. She tells Valentine that Jocelyn would never just leave without saying goodbye, and she is right. Carly knows her daughter, and whatever story is being circulated about Jocelyn's whereabouts, Carly is not buying a single word of it. And Tracy is getting into it with Chase, presumably because of what she witnessed between him and Willow, and Tracy arguing with Chase is always such a fascinating dynamic because she is simultaneously fond of him and completely willing to tear him apart when she feels like he is doing something stupid. So Thursday should be a lot. Friday, June 5th, Alexis is delivering some good news, and I am thinking this is going to be something Chase and Brooklyn related, possibly about the baby. Alexis has such a long history with so many people on this canvas that she could be delivering good news to any number of people, but the Chase and Brooklyn situation feels most pressing right now given everything that is swirling around them. I also wonder if Alexis is going to be the one who shows Tracy the photograph of Ethan with Delilah, because that seems like exactly the kind of thing that would make its way to Tracy through Alexis, and the fallout from that reveal is going to be very Tracy in the best possible way. Ava is going to be prodding Ethan on Friday, and of course it is about Delilah. Ava prodding someone is essentially a sport at this point, and Ethan is not going to take it well. He clearly had genuine feelings for Delilah. He was deeply committed to keeping her secrets, and the idea of someone picking at that wound is going to provoke a reaction that he might not be fully able to control. And somebody helps Brooklyn on Friday, and if it is Michael or Christina, they are not really helping her, they're just making things messy in a way she does not fully understand yet. Olivia is going to issue a warning to someone which might be connected to the ongoing search for Britt and Rocco, and Laura gets a win, which I hope with everything I have means that her strategy with Sunny and Lucas against Pascal and Sidwell is starting to actually produce results. Laura has been working this angle for a while, and she deserves a moment where it comes together. And now for the week of June 8th through the 12th, let's talk about everything that is coming, because there is a lot to unpack. Nina is going to keep working to protect Brennan, and I imagine at this point Carly and Valentine have fully briefed him on just how grave his situation at Turning Woods is, because Cullum is not patient and Brennan is running out of time in a very literal sense. The fact that Nina is still fighting for him says a lot about where her head is, and I think this storyline is going to force some really interesting choices from her in the coming days. Now let's talk about Cullum, because there is a significant piece of behind-the-scenes news here that connects directly to where his character is going. The actor who plays Cullum, Andrew Hawke, recently confirmed that his character was actually supposed to die in the Brit, Jason, and Rocco shootout. We leaked this a few weeks back, and at the time it did not fully materialize on screen, and now we know why. There was a last-minute story pivot, and Andrew Hawke himself has confirmed that the death was planned and then pulled back. That is a significant creative decision, and it tells you that the writers saw something in Cullum worth keeping around, because when a show pulls back from a scripted death it is usually because the character has earned more story. And Cullum has definitely earned more story. He is menacing in a way that feels genuinely dangerous, which is not always easy to pull off on daytime television. Trina's showcase performance is coming up fast, and we are going to see her and Gio continuing to rehearse together, which should give us some lovely scenes. The showcase has been building for a while, and I think the performance itself is going to be a real emotional high point for that storyline. And Tracy's reaction to the revelation of Ethan's hidden connection to Delilah is going to be everything you want it to be. Tracy finding out that Ethan has this whole secret chapter involving Delilah is the kind of information that Tracy is not going to process quietly or privately. She is going to have thoughts, and she is going to share every single one of them, loudly and without apology, and I am completely here for it. Now let's get into the casting news, because we have a lot of it and it is genuinely exciting. Finola Hughes has been back on set for several weeks already, which means she is going to be back on our screens very soon. Anna Devane coming back into the mix is always a good thing, full stop. And the news that so many of you have been waiting for about Steve Burton, he resumed filming on June 1st. That puts Jason Morgan's return air date solidly in mid-July, landing specifically on Monday, July 13th, which is also, not coincidentally, the date of General Hospital's 16,000th episode. They taped that milestone episode this past Monday, and it is going to air on July 13th, and that is when we are getting Jason back. The timing is not an accident. Bringing Jason home for a milestone episode is exactly the kind of move that shows how much the character means to this show's identity, and the fan response when that episode airs is going to be something else entirely. We have also heard that Michael E. Knight is back taping as the wonderfully snarky Martin Gray, and I am immediately wondering whether he's going to step in as legal representation for Curtis, whose situation is getting significantly more complicated. Martin taking Curtis's case would be really interesting because Martin brings such a specific energy to any courtroom-adjacent storyline, and Curtis needs someone sharp and a little unorthodox in his corner right now. And then there is the new casting, which we are very excited about. Australian actor Dean Guyler, and I will be honest, I am not entirely sure of the pronunciation, so forgive me if I'm getting it wrong, but he is known to a lot of people from his work on Glee among other projects, and he is joining the General Hospital cast as a character named Tristan Roberts. Now, if you have been watching this show for any length of time, you immediately clocked that Tristan Roberts sounds like a very deliberate mashup of Tristan Rogers and Robert Scorpio, two iconic names in GH history. And the fact that this new character is Australian only deepens that connection, because Robert Scorpio is famously Australian and Tristan Rogers played him for decades. Whether Tristan Roberts is actually connected to those characters by blood or by plot, or whether this is purely a name nod from the writers, is something we're going to have to wait and see on. The one other Roberts connection I can think of in GH history is that Roberts was the last name Carly borrowed from her best friend Charlotte Roberts back when she was first coming onto the canvas, so there are a few different threads they could pull here. Regardless, an Australian actor with ties to Glee joining a legacy soap with a character name that heavy with history is a combination that has me genuinely curious and excited. Kate Monsey has told fans to be sure to tune in on June 12th for more news about Christina's future, and given that she has been signaling her exit for a while now, I think June 12th is going to give us a clearer picture of exactly how and when that is going to happen. The Charlie's Pub angle makes sense as a way to wrap up her story in a way that feels complete, but there could be something more dramatic in store.
We will see.
Michael's scheme with Christina to blow up Brooklyn and Chase's marriage is picking up speed during the week of June 8th, and if Brooklyn does not come clean to Chase before the car accident reveal lands, I genuinely think Chase is going to be devastated in a way that may be very hard to come back from. He is going to feel completely blindsided, and rightfully so. The longer the secret stays buried, the worse the explosion is going to be when it finally surfaces, and it is going to surface. It always does on this show. Curtis is heading into a very rude awakening about the reality of his legal situation. He has been operating with a certain confidence, a certain assumption that things are going to work themselves out, and that he will emerge from this without too much damage. And that confidence is about to take a serious hit when he realizes that a prison-free plea bargain is probably not coming his way. The grievous injury to Isaiah is not something a judge is going to look past easily, and I think Jordan is going to push Curtis toward an apology and toward trying to make real amends, potentially asking Isaiah to drop the charges. But Curtis's ego is a real obstacle here. He is not someone who apologizes easily or genuinely, and the way he is still trying to use this situation to keep Isaiah out of the baby's life tells you everything about where his head is. And the irony is that Curtis is currently the one who has demonstrated violent behavior, which is not exactly a strong position to be arguing from when custody and co-parenting are on the table. Portia is not on board with his strategy, and I think she's going to be a lot more vocal about that during this week. Britt and Rocco's location might finally get an update, and I desperately hope it is not Cullum or Sidwell who gets to them first. That outcome would be genuinely bleak, so let us hold some positive energy there. We are also going to get more on Jocelyn and whatever arrangement she is working out with Cassius, which should be fascinating given everything we now know about who Cassius might actually be beneath the surface. And the 16,000th episode celebration on July 13th is shaping up to be a genuine event with Jason's return anchoring the whole thing. That is going to be a big day for this fan base, and it is well deserved. Thank you so much for listening and for being part of the Soap Dirt community. Make sure you are following us wherever you get your podcasts so you never miss an early edition or a breaking casting update, because things move fast in the soap world, and we are always working to get you the information first. Soap Dirt is available on all the major podcast platforms, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and more. We will see you back here very soon with more General Hospital coverage.